The late afternoon light stretched softly across the parking lot as Darlene stood near the school entrance. Arms folded. Her expression caught somewhere between patience and mild irritation. "Oh, David just parked," she said, more to herself than to the woman beside her. Mrs. Reynolds, calm and observant, adjusted her glasses. "I don't think I've ever met Mark's father before." Darlene let out a short breath. "We've been separated for years. This is his first parent-teacher conference." There was a pause. Then a softer addition. "He was working overseas." "For work, Mrs. Reynolds asked gently. Darlene gave a small shrug. "Not exactly. But he is a good dad." She smirked. "Not a great one, though. Or he would have been on time." She waved her hand quickly. "I'm kidding. That's just how we are. When he's not around." At that moment, the car door slammed, and David hurried toward them, slightly out of breath, his energy familiar yet distant. "Oh, so sorry we're late," he said. Darlene's eyes shifted past him. "Who's this?" David smiled, a little too brightly. "This is my girlfriend, Blue." Blue stepped forward with an open, almost luminous warmth. "It's so nice to meet you, Darlene." Darlene studied her for a second longer than necessary. "Nice to meet you too." "What a surprise." David scratched the back of his neck. "I should have mentioned she was coming. It was last minute. We just thought she could be more involved in Mark's life." Blue nodded eagerly. "I've only met him twice, but I feel like I've known him forever. The more support a child has, the better." Darlene raised an eyebrow. "Who says that?" Blue smiled. "It feels true." Mrs. Reynolds stepped in smoothly. "Why don't we begin?" They sat, and the conversation shifted toward Mark. "He's a pleasure to have in class," Mrs. Reynolds said. "Very bright, though sometimes a bit talkative." Darlene laughed. "That sounds exactly like him." Blue leaned forward. "He's very expressive." Darlene shot her a look. Not unkind, but pointed. David cleared his throat. "Is it affecting his schoolwork?" "Not at all," Mrs. Reynolds replied. "In fact, it's a challenge to keep him engaged. He may need additional stimulation." Blue lit up. "We could help with that this weekend, when the kids stay over." Darlene froze. "They're staying over?" David shifted in his seat. "You said they could sometimes." "That's something people say," Darlene replied sharply. "It doesn't mean immediately." David softened. "I'm trying to make up for lost time." Silence lingered. Then Darlene sighed. "Fine. They can stay over." Blue beamed. "Don't worry. I come from a community where we all helped raise children together." Darlene gave a dry smile. "I'm sure that made things easier." The meeting ended politely, but tension lingered beneath every word. Later that evening, life unfolded in different corners of the same complicated world. Becky stood at a construction site early in the morning, holding a water bottle she had assumed was harmless. She shook it, frowned, and took a cautious sniff. "This is not water." Her father looked over. "What?" "It's vodka." The crew fell silent. Her father's voice hardened. "Not here. Not on my job." Becky swallowed, embarrassed but defiant. "I needed it to get through the day." "You don't get through this job like that," he replied. "You show up ready." She hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. I'll do it your way." Elsewhere, Darlene sat in a dimly lit bar, her friend encouraging her to move forward. "You deserve someone," her friend said. Darlene stared into her drink. "I'm not even sure I know how anymore." But when a man approached, kind and awkward, something shifted. It was not dramatic, not overwhelming, just possible. Back at David's house, the weekend unfolded with quiet unpredictability. Harris, caught between adolescence and independence, made a choice she thought she understood. When Darlene found out, the world seemed to tilt. She stormed into David's house, anger masking fear. You should have told me, she said. David looked ashamed. I know. Blue stood nearby, calm in a way that only made things more complicated. We talked, Blue said gently. About responsibility. About understanding. Darlene turned sharply. You knew? Blue did not flinch. We had a conversation. I believed in giving her space to make her own decisions. Darlene's voice tightened. She is still a child. The room held that truth heavily. Later, in the quiet of the car, Darlene spoke to Harris not with anger, but with something deeper. Are you okay? Harris nodded. Yes. There was honesty in her voice, but also uncertainty. Darlene sighed. You can always come to me. No judgment. Harris looked at her, surprised. Really? Yes. That night, David and Darlene sat together, the weight of years between them. I think it's time, Darlene said softly. We should make it official. David nodded slowly. Yeah. It makes sense. Neither of them looked relieved. But neither looked broken either. Just changed. Darlene hesitated. I met someone. David smiled faintly. That's good. I don't know where it's going, she added. You don't have to, he said. For a moment, they sat in silence. Not as husband and wife, but as two people who had once loved deeply, and now were learning how to let that love become something else. Outside, the world continued as it always did. Messy, imperfect, and full of quiet chances to begin again. The late afternoon light settled gently across the quiet school parking lot, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch like memories waiting to be acknowledged. Darlene stood near the entrance, arms folded, her posture firm, but her eyes betraying a subtle restlessness. Oh, David just parked, she said, glancing toward the approaching car. Beside her, Mrs. Reynolds adjusted her papers and offered a polite smile. I do not think I have ever met Mark's father before. Darlene let out a soft breath. Half sigh, half reflection. We have been separated for years. He has never been to one of these before. There was a pause before she added, almost defensively. He was working overseas. Mrs. Reynolds nodded. For work. Darlene hesitated, then gave a small shrug. Not for money. But he is a good dad. Just not a great one. Otherwise, he would be on time. She quickly waved her hand. I am joking. That is just how we are. When he is not around. At that moment, the car door closed with a quiet thud, and David hurried toward them, slightly out of breath, his expression apologetic yet hopeful. Oh, we are so sorry we are late, he said. Darlene's gaze shifted past him, narrowing slightly. Who is this? David smiled, a little uncertain but determined. This is my girlfriend. Blue. Blue stepped forward with a warmth that felt almost disarming. It is so nice to meet you. Darlene. Darlene studied her carefully, measuring something unspoken. Nice to meet you too. That is quite a surprise. David scratched the back of his head. I should have told you. It was last minute. We thought she could be more involved in Mark's life. Blue nodded, her voice gentle but confident. I have only met him twice, but I feel like I have known him for a long time. I believe that the more people who care about a child, the better. Darlene raised an eyebrow. Who says that? Blue smiled softly. It feels right. Mrs. Reynolds stepped in with calm professionalism. Why do we begin? They took their seats, and the conversation turned toward Mark. He is an absolute pleasure, Mrs. Reynolds began. Very bright. Very engaged. Although he can be a bit talkative at times. Darlene let out a small laugh. That is completely him. Blue leaned forward eagerly. He expresses himself beautifully. Darlene glanced at her briefly, then turned back to the teacher. David cleared his throat. Is that affecting his work? Not at all, Mrs. Reynolds replied. If anything, the challenge is keeping him stimulated. He needs more to stay engaged. Blue's eyes lit up. We could help with that when the kids stay over this weekend. Darlene froze. They are staying over. David shifted slightly. You said they could sometimes. That is something people say, Darlene replied evenly. It does not mean immediately. David's tone softened. I am trying to make up for lost time. The words lingered in the air. Heavy but honest. After a moment, Darlene sighed. Fine. They can stay over. Blue smiled brightly. You do not have to worry. I grew up in a community where we all shared in raising children. Darlene gave a dry smile. I imagine that made things simpler. The meeting ended politely. But beneath the surface, something had shifted. Life moved forward, as it always did, in parallel moments. Early the next morning, Becky stood at a construction site, holding a bottle she had assumed contained water. She shook it, frowned, and examined it more closely. This is not water, she said. Her father looked up. What? It is vodka. The crew fell silent. Her father's voice became firm. Not here. Not on my job. Becky hesitated, then spoke honestly. I thought it would help me get through the day. You get through the day by doing the work, he replied. Clear head. She looked at him, then nodded. Fine. I will do it your way. Elsewhere, Darlene sat in a dim bar, her friend watching her carefully. You deserve to move on, her friend said. Darlene stared at her drink. I'm not sure I remember how. But when a man approached, kind and slightly awkward, something shifted. Not dramatically, just quietly, like a door opening a little. At David's house, the weekend unfolded with quiet uncertainty. Harris, standing on the edge of adulthood, made a decision she believed she understood. When Darlene found out, her heart reacted before her mind could. She arrived at David's house, anger masking concern. You should have told me, she said. David looked at her, regret clear in his face. I know. Blue stood nearby, calm and composed. We talked, Blue said gently. About choices. About understanding. Darlene turned sharply. You knew? Blue did not step back. We had a conversation. I trusted her to understand herself. Darlene's voice tightened. She is still growing. The room fell quiet, each person holding a different truth. Later, in the car, Darlene looked at Harris. Her voice softer now. Are you okay? Harris nodded. Yes. There was confidence, but also vulnerability. You can always talk to me, Darlene said. No judgment. Harris looked at her, surprised. Really? Yes. That night, after everything had settled, Darlene and David sat together in a quiet room filled with memories. I think it is time, Darlene said softly. We should move forward officially. David nodded slowly. Yes. I understand. Neither of them smiled. But neither of them looked broken. Just changed. Darlene hesitated. I met someone. David gave a small, genuine smile. That is good. I do not know where it will go, she said. You do not need to, he replied. They sat in silence. Not as husband and wife, but as two people who had shared a life and were now learning how to let it transform. Outside, the world continued in its quiet rhythm. Imperfect, complicated, and still.